Hello everyone, welcome to a new video, and before we start I want to very quickly mention 4 things I need to say. First of all, the title of the video is everything you need to know about Breach, but I'm sure I missed some stuff, and I also deliberately cut some unimportant things from the video to make sure it's not too long. However, if you feel like I did not include something you deem very important or you would simply like to know about, leave a comment down below and I might make a follow-up video. Second of all, if you're watching this within 8 or so hours of me uploading the video, I am most likely live on Twitch right now, so make sure to click the link in the pinned comment or the description, check me out and say hello. Third of all, this is not a guide. This is a purely informational video made to let the community know how the mode works, so that everyone has a better understanding of it. However, it doesn't include many tips, tricks, preferred feats, compositions, etc. I will just do my best to give you guys all the information that I have gathered. And finally, I will right now outline the video for you guys, and the timestamps to all of these parts will be in the pinned comment down below. So first, I will start with a quick overview for those of you new to Breach, or those of you who haven't played it since the tests. This is going to include basic descriptions of the different sides and win conditions both teams have available to them. Then, we will move on to a part I've titled Timings and Effects. In this one, I will talk about everything you need to know about the boosts, the flag, the guardian, the commander, the cauldron, minions, archer points, the ram and the gate. So, what all of these do and at what times. And finally, we will move on to Renown. In Breach, Renown is much simpler than it is in the minion, and because of that, I can very easily talk about it. In this part, I will talk about all the different ways to gather Renown, how much of it you actually gain, and how much you need to level up and get your feats. Alright, let's not delay this any longer and actually start. So, Breach is an asymmetrical mode in which you play as either the attackers or the defenders. The former's goal is to, well, breach the enemy fortress with a battering ram, while the latter try their best to stop that from happening. There are 3 phases and they're all different from each other in size, average length in terms of playtime, and the amount of activities available to both teams. Both the attackers and the defenders have access to the healing point, which is pretty self-explanatory, a ballista which appears on all maps in all phases, the flag, which increases the defense of the ram if an attacker uses it, or strengthens the gate, which is something the defenders can do, their own minions, called Pikemen in Breach, and the captains, the boosts, which can amplify your movement speed, attack, or give you a shield similar to Revenge, the guardian, which is a neutral NPC I will talk more about later, the commander, which is the ultimate objective of the mode, and the sideline. Now, when it comes to the sideline, I will talk about it more in the timings and effects section of the video. But for now, you will have to know that at the beginning of the match, defenders have control over all of the side points and have access to all the archers available there, and one of the attacker's goals is to take over these points to control mid better. The defenders also have access to the cauldron, which they can use to damage the attacker's ram, and the attackers have tickets, which are essentially lives, and if they run out of them, they go into a breaking stage similar to the minion. So now that we've got all of these aspects quickly covered, let me talk about the different phases the Breach offers. In phase 1, the attackers start with 24 tickets, and their goal is to destroy the outer gate. In this phase, on all maps, there are 3 side lanes that spawn archers, some minions and captains. There's also a ballista, a healing point, a flag, boosts, and of course the cauldron. This is usually the simplest phase, in which the attackers want to preserve as many tickets as possible, while the defenders want to deplete as many of them as they can. Once the attackers manage to break down the outer gate, the game proceeds to phase 2. However, if they run out of tickets before they can destroy the gate, the match is over and that is the earliest a Breach game can possibly end. Going on to phase 2, the attackers are rewarded 16 tickets for destroying the gate, and in this phase, there's everything that appeared in phase 1, but there is one more side point, which means there are 4 of them, and most importantly, there's the Guardian. The Guardian is a neutral NPC which grants the team who kills him a lot of renown and a team-wide boost. If the attackers manage to clear this phase, they are awarded with 4 tickets and go on to phase 3, which is the first phase that they can win in. In that phase, there is a commander, a very tanky NPC, who the defenders have to protect, while the attacker's goal is to kill him. There are fewer activities in this one, with there only being 1 side point, the ballista, fewer boosts than in previous phases, a healing point, and the commander himself. If the defending team manages to successfully protect the commander by either killing the attackers or running out the timer, they win. So that's a basic overview of Breach, and let's now move on to talking about specific details, timings and numbers. Time for timings and effects. This part, as I said earlier, will include detailed information about boosts, flag, the ram, cauldron, etc. I will also throw in information about pikemen here, just to make sure I don't have to create a special section just for them. But let's start with respawns. The higher your renown level, the slower you respawn. It goes like this. At level 0, meaning no feeds, you respawn in 15 seconds. At level 1 it takes 20, level 2 24, level 3 27, and finally level 4 30 seconds. This is simple and straightforward, and there is no execution penalties like there are in other modes. Now the boosts. They all spawn 45 seconds into a phase, and this is the same in all phases. They take 3 minutes to respawn after being used, and there are 3 boosts, so let's now talk about them. First, the attack buff. It exists in all phases on all maps. It lasts for 70 seconds and it increases your damage by 25% against players, offices, the guardian and the commander, and by 55% against the pikemen, so you can clear the area around the ram much more easily with it. Secondly, the defense buff exists in all phases on all maps except for phase 3 on Walled City, the night map. This one gives you a shield that's worth 50% of your character's overall HP, and it has no limit, so it is there until it depletes. Lastly, there's the sprint buff, which only appears on phase 1 of the samurai and the night maps. It gives you 50% speed bonus, and it also has a 70-second duration. One small thing about the boosts that's interesting is that they do not disappear if you get revived, only if you actually respawn. The ram. It has 9000 HP and it is used to destroy the gates. It has 3 states. Its regular speed that it achieves whenever there are attacker pikemen or players around it. It stops when there are no attacker players and pikemen around it. And it goes quicker when there are both attacker players and pikemen around it. Remember, all of these assume that there are no defender players and pikemen nearby. Once docked, the regular charging time is 50 seconds. If there are attacker players and pikemen around it, while there are no defender players and pikemen, the charging time is 15 seconds, so it is very important to always have someone near the ram as both teams. Note that the number of players near the ram is not important as long as there is at least one. The ram does not speed up more if there are 2 or more players. The ram can take damage from pikemen, ballistas, cauldrons and players' AoE feeds. Once destroyed, the attackers lose. Now let's talk about the cauldron, which is the defender's primary means of defense once the ram has docked the gate. The cauldron deals 900 damage to the ram, 24 damage to attacker players and takes 5 seconds to use. It also has a cooldown of 30 seconds and it becomes inactive once the phase is over. Next up we have the flag, commonly known as the tribute flag. It spawns 3 minutes into a phase and it appears on phases 1 and 2. After it is used, it respawns every 4 minutes and it's possible to stack them up to 2 times. As I said earlier, the defenders can use it to shield their gate, while the attackers can shield their ram. Placing the flag takes 3 seconds and it shields the gate so that it can take 1 additional ram hit, while for the attackers it allows for 1 additional cauldron hit, and then some, by shielding the ram for 1200 HP. Carrying the flag inflicts a significant speed debuff and it is impossible to willingly drop it. It is dropped when the carrier takes damage or is successfully thrown. Now the Guardian. The Guardian spawns in a time window anywhere between 0 seconds and 120 seconds after the start of phase 2. Once he's killed, he respawns anywhere between 3 minutes 30 seconds and 5 minutes 30 seconds later. He has 600 HP and 2 bombs, one resembling a bigger Pugnomortis that deals 35 damage, and another that's a much slower Fire Flask, which hits for 50 at first and then deals 2 damage with each tick of fire. He has 1 light attack that deals 15 damage, and he has an unblockable heavy. He's capable of gaining and activating revenge, and he does not have any chains. Upon death, the Guardian grants 480 renown to the killer and 300 to everyone who got assists. Additionally, he gives all the boosts, so the attack boost, the shield boost and the speed boost, to every member of the killer's team that's within 15 meters of the Guardian. These boosts are the exact same as the ones I talked about earlier and they do not stack with them. The ultimate objective of the mode, the commander spawns at the beginning of phase 3 and has 950 HP. He has the same bombs as the Guardian and a few other attacks. An extremely slow top unblockable heavy that deals 60 damage, knocks down if it hits, and has extraordinary range. He also has a blockable heavy attack that he sometimes uses, and an unblockable 3-part zone that's very similar to Highlander's. It deals 35 damage with each hit. You can heal the commander with AoE healing feats like Star Wars Banner, and all buff and debuff feats applied to him. Side points, aka Archer points. I talked about this one earlier, but it's time to get into all the details. First of all, to understand the Archer points, you have to know that they can be captured and fortified. A capture simply means that the ownership of the point has changed, and archers will start spawning for the other team that has captured the point. However, it can still be reclaimed. Fortification means the point cannot be retaken. Only the attackers can fortify points, meaning only they can progress on the sideline. Defenders start each phase controlling all the archer points, and as the phase goes on, they slowly lose control of the map. Defenders can take control of a point, but they cannot fortify it. Now, let's talk about numbers. Capture of a point takes 3 seconds and can be performed by either side. Fortification takes 55 seconds if only attacker players or pikemen are present, and it takes 20 seconds if both attacker players and pikemen are there. Again, just like with the ram, the number of attacker players present does not matter as long as there is at least one. There are 3 archers for every archer point, and they respawn 20 seconds after being killed. They only target pikemen in the mid lane, and they do 12 damage to them. Pikemen are the improved minions introduced in Breach. They can be quite frustrating, but right now I'm here to give you guys as deep of an understanding as possible, including all the numbers and spawns. So, let's start. The pikemen have 46 HP, deal 10 damage to players, and 12 to other pikemen, meaning they kill each other in 4 hits. As I'm sure you know, they interrupt executions, revives, and interactions such as planting the flag. They can be blocked externally, and their target priority looks like this. First, they will target other pikemen, then the ram, and then finally the players. That means if an entire wave of pikemen is surrounding the ram, you can safely attack them as they have something else to prioritize first. Now, the spawns. When it comes to these, there's an important distinction to make. Pikemen that appear in the mid lane spawn at different rates than the ones that can be found on the side lane. The former, mid lane pikemen, spawn every 35 seconds, and there is a limit of 15 possible at a time. Every 35 seconds, the game checks how many pikemen are missing, and it spawns enough so there are 15 on the field. The latter though, the sideline pikemen, spawn much more frequently, every 12 seconds, but they spawn fewer at a time. Now it's time to talk about captains, the targetable NPCs that spawn in the sideline. They have 120 HP, spawn 30 seconds after being killed, can be executed, and they do not give the player revenge. Their priority is very similar to that of the pikemen, they target players last. Something that is very important to note about the captains is that every feat and perk that revolves around kills, like for example Bounty Hunter that heals you every time you get one, works on captains as well. I have 2 things I want to talk about last. First, the healing point. Present in every phase on every map, healing points are an extremely important part of Breach, so here are the numbers to help you understand them. It takes 3.5 seconds to control a healing point. It heals 10 HP per second, and it cleanses all debuffs applied to a player, including bleed damage. Ballista. Just like healing points, the ballistas are present in every phase and every map, and can be a strong addition to your play if used correctly. Here's the information. It takes 3 seconds for a ballista to reload, it deals full friendly fire damage, and ballistas kill pikemen instantly. They deal 60 damage to the players and the commander, and 20 damage to the ram. Alright, so that is about it for the timings and effects section of the video. I hope you're still with me, not deterred by the slew of stats thrown at you so far. This was definitely the most intense part of the video, so let's now move on to the last part, Renown. Alright, so this one should be a lot simpler and shorter than timings and effects. Basically, here I will simply list off all the ways you can gain Renown in Breach, how much you get for each action, and how much of it you actually need in order to level up. So first, let's talk about how much Renown you gain for each action. This is going to be a simple list. For each hero kill you get 48 Renown, half of that for an assist. If you kill a captain, you get 24 Renown, and again, half of that for an assist. Each pikeman kill is worth 12, and each archer 9. For reviving you get 20 Renown, for planting the flag into your ram or your gate you get 50. For damaging the ram with the cauldron as a defender you get 20, same for capturing an archer point, and for fortifying one too. For defending a side point, you get 16. And of course for the Guardian, you get 480 if you kill them, 300 if you get an assist. These are all the ways to gain Renown and Breach. Now, how does For Honor determine whether someone got an assist or not? It's very simple. All that matters is whether you've dealt damage to someone within 10 seconds before they died. No fancy requirements, nothing like that, simply, did you hit them or not? Now that we know all this, let's go into how much Renown you actually need to get your feats. In order to unlock your level 1 feat, you need 125 Renown. For level 2, you need 300, level 3 requires 660, and finally for level 4, you need 1200 Renown, which is exactly the same as killing 100 Pikemen, so that's one way to get your feats very quickly. Well, alright guys, that's gonna be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. This took a lot of work, so please let me know if you enjoyed it. Leave a like, a comment, sub if you'd like to see more. And see you guys next time.